my work in the area of complexity started basically when I visited the Complex Systems Summer School of the Santa Fe Institute more than 10 years ago, and got really interested in understanding how the macro level behavior of systems can actually emerge from local interactions of many interacting entities. And I was always very much interested in environmental systems and how we can manage them sustainably, trying to study them as coupled, integrated social-ecological systems, where humans are really embedded in ecosystems, and through many, many interactions with their environment and using ecosystem services or in enjoying nature, basically give rise to what we observe as social ecological systems and affect ecosystems, and at the same time are affected by the ecosystems they depend on. And so I use ideas of complexity science to try to understand the dynamics of those systems, how they co-evolve through these interactions, and how we can better understand how to manage them sustainably, or how they basically change over time, how they change, like sudden abrupt changes as we observe the collapse of the Baltic cod, for example, is one case study we studied, where we try to understand what are these interactions, social ecological interactions of fishermen with the fish population, with kind of the whole governance system, the regulations, the subsidies that were present in that time that gave rise to basically a sudden collapse of the cod stock. Yeah, so we presented one of those case studies, which is about fisheries, small-scale fisheries in Mexico, in the Gulf of California, where we want to understand how such a change in the governance, a transformation, can actually be facilitated or supported, for example, through government intervention. And the reason is that a lot of these small-scale fisheries, they're often self-governed, and they're self-governed through a very non-cooperative types of governance, where there is a fisherman working with a fish buyer, kind of in a very hierarchical relationship. And these patron-client relationships, as they're also called, are perceived as being not so desirable because they're for equity reasons, but also for sustainability reasons. So many governments try to incentivize more cooperative forms of governance, such as cooperatives, and they invest a lot of money, subsidies, or institutional or policies like licenses, trying to shift the governance of those small-scale fisheries towards these more cooperative forms. But very often these interventions fail. So we developed an agent-based model based on many, many years of field work of our collaborator. So I'm doing this with one of my PhD students, Emily Lindquist, to try to understand under what conditions could such a fishery actually be transformed into a more cooperative governance form, and what are different types of interventions that could help doing that. And we've been looking particularly contrasting the more financial interventions, which are very common, where they get some subsidies, with interventions that are more targeted towards building trust, because fieldwork has really shown that loyalty and trust is a very important element that makes that helps these cooperatives to establish and actually to persist. So we've been presenting some results of those simulations.